And of course, for all the gifts that we have today, we have to say thanks to all our sponsors. First of all, the organizers, Make Your Mark Consultants, Happy Ice, Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Main Event, The Gleaner, Nationwide, Celebration Brands, you saw their gift earlier, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, today's Sign Art, MGP, Visual Tech, who's providing very clear sound. You can hear me in the back, right? Yes, I see gentleman in the gray shirt nodding. You can hear me in the back. We also, of course, have to thank Jewel, Paradise Cove, and our associate sponsors, Lanner, Jamaica Moves, Docutech, and Terry's Cosmetics. So let's get into our first session this morning. So if you look in your program, you'll see that the first session is on leading, following, and executing with purpose. And our three speakers are Mr. Chris Zaka, Mr. Andrew Winter, and Mrs. Felicia Lynch. Now, we apologize for Mr. Zaka will be here soon. So we're going to begin with Mr. Winter and then continue with Miss Lynch and afterwards, Mr. Zaka. So to introduce you a little bit or let you know a little bit about Mr. Winter. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA, and he was appointed in April last year. He has over 30 years experience in security and risk management, and he's well certified in a range of security areas. Mr. Winter also serves as the Deputy Chair of the Advisory Board for the Security Administration and Management Program at Caribbean Maritime Institute. Now, Mrs. Lynch is, as she calls herself, a true child of the diaspora. As her mother is from Barbados, her father is from Nigeria. She was born in the UK. And here in Jamaica, I know we're going to adopt her after her presentation, right? Yeah, and we have already. Now, she now lives and works in the Caribbean, but she has worked internationally, including the UK, Latin America, and Africa, transforming various organizations in the private and public sector. She's really an organizational transformation specialist. In Turks and Caicos Islands, for instance, she facilitated the implementation of their business transformation strategy. She's also an executive coach who speaks frequently at conferences on performance management, culture change, organizational excellence, and more. And Mr. Zaka, who is well known, he's Christopher Zaka, CDJP. He's a senior business executive and business leader here in Jamaica. And he's president and CEO of Sagicor Group. He was also president of the private sector organization. I hear you, Sagicor. Yeah. He's also president of the private sector organization of Jamaica from 2012 to 2014. And prior to that, from 2006 to 2009. He's a Campion College alumni who is in their Hall of Fame, also a Massachusetts Institute of Technology graduate. And he has been special advisor to the Prime Minister from 2009 to 2011, advising on policy issues including the economy, business, and energy. So in 2014 is when he was granted the National Honor of the Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander for invaluable contribution to the private and public sector. So this morning, I want you to give me a round of applause to welcome all our speakers in this panel on leading, following, and executing with purpose. So I'll now hand over to Mr. Winter.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be here to be addressing the future leadership of this country. Many of you look at yourself and say, I'm in the middle management, but you play a very critical role, and you're actually setting the stage for the future. And this is what my presentation will be on today. But before I go any further, where are my pecans? Right? Because at PICA, our theme for the year 2018-19 is to boldly go where no agency has gone before. So Sagicor, watch out. Grace Kennedy, watch out. All of the leading private sector companies, and I welcome Mr. Zaka, right? Watch out. Because PICA is coming. And what is best is that at PICA, we all have your passports. We are the immigration authority, and we will allow you in. And for those of us who work with us, you'll get unconditional landing. If you don't work with us, we will deport you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure, and I am very happy today, and I welcome the organizers of this very important conference, because many times the persons in the middle are often overlooked, and we don't appreciate the important role that they play. You are the glue that helps to hold senior management and the workforce together. The supervisors, the junior managers, and the middle managers. You help us to hold the organization together to achieve our strategic objectives and whatever other objectives that are set. Now I'll turn to technology. So my presentation will be speaking today about leading, following, and executing with a purpose. But before we go there, we have to understand some critical points. Why should they follow you? You are the leader. Why? Why you should follow the follower? In other words, your staff, your other employees, your stakeholders, why should you follow them? What has been the best to achieve the objectives? That's the execution. And what is the reason why doing what we do, the purpose? Why should they follow you, the leader? Who knows this gentleman? His name is Winston Churchill. He was the Prime Minister of Britain during World War II. And he took over Prime Ministership of Britain when Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, was in its supremacy. There was no country in Europe that the Germans weren't overrunning. And England, in their darkest hour, turned to Winston Churchill as their leader. And he inspired a country that halted the aggression of Nazi Germany and helped to turn the tide of the war. How did he do it? He had to inspire that country that despite all the bombings and the death and everything, they could overcome. He gave a famous speech that saying, we'll fight them on the beaches, we'll fight them in the valleys, we'll fight them in our homes, but we will never surrender. And that is the thing. He had to inspire the English people in their darkest hour that they can overcome. And that is why they followed him. He had to be confident. It wasn't always going in his favor. When you worked out how many planes the RAF had in comparison to the Luftwaffe, which is the German Air Force, they were numbered almost 3-1. They had weapons. They had some of the latest fighting planes, the Messerschmitt, and the English did not have enough. But then he gave another famous speech because he rose the Royal Air Force. And during the Battle of Britain, they won and turned back the Luftwaffe. And as such, they were not able to invade England. And he said, never in the history of humankind has so much been owed to so few. And that's the situation with you as a leader. It's very lonely at the top. Don't make nobody fool you. But he had to give the confidence and inspire his people. And with that confidence, the Air Force went out there and conquered the Germans. There are no German descendants in here. No. Clear vision. Winston Churchill knew where he was going. He had one goal, one objective, which was the defeat of Nazi Germany. And he was determined that Nazi Germany would not reach English soil. Trust. He got the trust of the English people. His speeches, his action, what he did, how he did it, earned the trust of the people. And as a leader or leaders, regardless of where you're in the organization, those who are following you must trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to follow you. Not even your children. If the children don't trust that daddy can cook, they're not going near the kitchen. Right? We'll wait till mommy come home, daddy. They have to realize that you are genuine. If you're not a genuine person, people will see through it. Because you won't have the confidence, you won't be inspired. Then we just think you're talking. But they have to recognize that you're genuine. And how do you know you're genuine? Because you have to believe in what you're doing. Because if you don't believe in what you're doing, you won't be a genuine person. We have to be genuine. Transparent. Even though he drank a lot of whiskey, smoked cigars, everybody knew who was Winston Churchill. What he said is what he meant. There's a famous story how he looked at a famous lady, something in England, and she said, "Sir Winston, you're drunk." And he looked back at her and said, "My lady, when I'm drunk, you're ugly. And when I'm sober, you're still ugly." So in other words, everybody knows Churchill. Him just going to tell you like it is. Right? But most of all, Winston Churchill earned the respect of everybody. He had the respect of the Allies. He had the respect of his troops. He had the respect of the people. He had the respect of the royal family. And that was what helped him to lead the persons through in England during their darkest hour. Some of the skills that are required as a good leader are communicating. You have to know how to communicate to reach your staff, to reach your audience, to reach the people who you are leading. And as leaders, you're not just leading the employees inside your organization. You're leading your stakeholders. You're leading those above you. You're leading those beside you. You're leading those below you. You have to lead your stakeholders, your suppliers, and other persons in your organ who are so critical to the success of your organization. And you have to be able to communicate with them in such a way that they will buy into what you're doing. Influencing. We have to influence people. We as men know about influencing, don't we? Because if we don't influence the women, they'll never become our wives. And some of us wonder why they still don't become our wives. They heard about our cooking. Right? Visioning. You have to have a vision. What is your vision for your unit? What is your vision for the organization? What is your vision for you? Where do you see yourself? Many persons in an interview, you say to them, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And from them say, not so sure, you know, so that one not making it. Because that person has to have a vision. They have to know where they are going. Because when you bring them into the organization, it is their vision of their self, which you are going to align with your objectives, that is going to help the organization and your unit to be successful. They have to see themselves as a success. You think Usain Bolt ever saw himself coming second? No. He saw himself as a legend, and he lived to be that. Executing, you have to be able to execute. You have to know how you're going to do it efficiently, effectively. And it takes a lot. You have to learn what is good execution. Motivating. You have to get your people motivated. They have to understand what you're about. And you have to work with them, because when they are motivated, it will work, make your work lighter. It will get the job done easier. If you have to work with demotivated people, it don't work. As a former lieutenant in the army, if the troops that were to follow me were ever demotivated, when I said, "Come men, let's go," it's me one walking off. But if they are motivated, when I say, "Let's go," them say, "Where?" And that is about motivation. Right? Engaging. You have to engage your people. Speak to your staff. Speak to those around you. Being a middle manager doesn't mean you're the boss. Right? That went out in 1838. Right? What happened in 1838? Thank you. No, we have to communicate. We have to share. We have to engage. Because it's a new way of working. It's a new world we are working in. And we have to appreciate what are the skills that are required to engage our people, to engage the staff, to engage our suppliers, our stakeholders, and those other persons who are required to assist us in supporting and making our agency unit, our business, a success. Motivation, according to Arnold Mull, is to motivate your subordinates to function at maximum level. A manager has to the task of his subordinates and enjoyable to them, right? He has to make sure the task is enjoyable. The persons who are working with you in our teams, are they enjoying the work that they do? What can you do to make that work enjoyable? How can you help them? Sometimes you have to take your staff outside and make them sit down under a tree to discuss a problem. Buy all of them a cup of coffee. No rum during working hours, only coffee. All right? Right, Mr. Zaka? So what makes an effective leader? As the famous Drucker states, they ask what needs to be done. They do the right thing. Because it's important that as leaders, you do the right thing, not what is right. What is right might be popular, but it is wrong. Right? We have to do the right thing. They develop action plans. They take responsibility for their decision. If you're not prepared to take responsibility, don't lead. Don't step up. As I say, it's a lonely place. And there are times when you are going to have to seek forgiveness rather than permission because you have to do the right thing. They're effective communicators. They focus on opportunities rather than problems. In other words, in my view, we are solution-oriented, not problem-centric. You ever notice some people, all them come to you with this problem? Right? Well, I read in a book once that as the leader, if somebody comes in you, many people, they bring the 800-pound gorilla to the leader's office. And what they do is leave it in there. But if you're a smart and prudent and very concise leader, you'll make them walk out back with 2. Right? In other words, when they come to you with a problem, if they do have at least 2 solutions to help you to solve, don't come with the problem. They don't really have a problem, you know. Them just want to give you work to do. So, to follow with our purpose, how do we follow with our purpose? We have to trust the leader. And we, the leader, have to trust you. I can put my head on the block for my staff. I'm not saying that they won't make mistakes, but I know that because they know I trust them, and they believe that I trust them, and they know that I trust them, that even if they make the mistake, they can come to me and say, Mr. Winter, we make a blunder, you know. Remember, success is failure turned inside out. And sometimes when my mistake happens, it's a learning opportunity. And by learning why did it happen, we can correct it, not to make it happen again. But if it keeps happening, then there's a problem. Right? They respect leader and management. And the leadership and the management must respect them. The persons who are following you above you, those above you must respect you as a person, respect your ability, respect what you bring to the table. And from you earn the respect of those above, you also need to earn the respect of your peers. And you need to earn the respect of those below you. Because it is that cumulative earning of respect that is going to help you to be very successful at what you do. There is a clear roadmap or path. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? What do we need to get us along that path? Yes, there are going to be rocky paths. Yes, there are going to be obstacles. But if we prepare ourselves properly, well, we can overcome those obstacles. We will circumvent the potholes, even if it's a Jamaican road, but we will get to the end of the path. They know their role in their success. You know your part that you have to play in that success, and you have to transmit that success to your persons. All believe in what and the why. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? At PICA, we are in the business of protecting the nation's borders, protecting the identity of persons, granting citizenship to persons who want to become citizens of Jamaica. Our purpose is to make Jamaica a place that people live, work, and raise families freely. That is Vision 2030. We have to buy into that vision, and we live that vision. And the fact that you're all here today is testament of that vision. So we have to believe in what we are doing. Why management follows our employees? I know some of you must have wondered where we're going with that. But it is important that we have our employees know and recognize that they play a critical role. Most of all, they know the customers. They interface with them 8 hours a day, right through the day. They know them very well. They know their families, right? If you don't follow some of them is part of the family. They know the suppliers. They know the systems. They know the security of the place. So if they want to breach the security, they can do it. They know our management philosophy. And if they live and enjoy and are part of that management philosophy, which you as the middle managers ensure that is passed down and developed, then will know what they're doing. They know the opportunities to make things right or create a lot of problems for you. Many times if we want to know how something is working, you engage the staff, they will help you to find that opportunity. And most important, they know what you don't know. You better believe it. If you think they don't know how the computer works, and if you don't press F1/ what will happen to the machine, they know. Because sometimes they have 8 hours to play around with it and find out all the things that it can do. But in executing, after we have all of these things, we have to have a purpose. And therefore, to execute with a purpose, we have to explore the new ways of working to satisfy our customers and employees. Because that is your purpose. Whatever business, be in the public or the private sector, you are there to provide service for people, for customers, for our clients, for our nationals or international persons. PICA has to have, we are the face of Jamaica, when the first people that they engage with are the immigration officers. And we have to greet them properly. If we don't greet them, then they might have a wrong impression of Jamaica. To seek out new opportunities, to be bold but not stupid, know the end game, must be aligned to the mission and strategy. We have to implement with a purpose. Your implementation must have certain things which are critical. So you must define the purpose of what you're going to do. Formulate your core ideas and values on which the new paradigm should be based. Identify the new key strategies. Develop your implementation plan. Build out your organization support. HR, marketing, finance, sales. The sales team, the management team, we are a team. It takes a team. It took a coaching and management team to make Usain Bolt successful. He had a coach, he had a manager, he had a masseuse, he had everybody helping him. It was a successful coach that made him win. So you have to build out that support. So the critical factors for successful execution are properly trained staff, adequate resources, your people. You are the human capital, and when we invest in you, the return we get from that sometimes far exceeds what is on the bottom line. Financial, physical, we have to have integrated teams, and we have to have support from your critical external stakeholders. Those external stakeholders are your customers and the people who buy into your service. So, if you look at that acronym, at PICA, we have come with a new thing. We have to be positive. Because if you don't take a positive approach, then you won't get there. We are innovative. We look at every problem as a challenge and we find a solution to it. We are creative. That's why we have put in the things that the Dropbox, and as advertising, but you can use it, right? And we're coming out with online passport renewal to make your life easier, right? We have online immigration card coming out, and we're using technology as one of the drivers that will ensure that the people of Jamaica see the return on their investment in us, a public entity. Most of all, we're action-oriented. What we say we are going to do, we do it. We have had to make some paradigm shifts from being process oriented to being purpose, from being department to being agency. Treat staff an expense to treating staff as an asset. We have accountability. We're not going to micromanage you. We are going to empower you. But with great power comes great responsibility, and we expect everyone to know their responsibility. So, in closing, you have to have a clear and concise vision of what you want to do. You have to be innovative. Mission must be something that employees buy into. You have to make sure everybody buys into it and the whole organization is rowing the boat in the same direction. Strategy focus, operations must be sound and practical and technology driven. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of my presentation, and it was my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so we're now going to have a slight change in the order. Mr. Zaka will come next and make his presentation, and we'll take all of your questions after all three presenters have spoken to you. So please welcome Mr. Zaka.
Good morning, and let me make a special mention for Jackie and the Maker Mark Consultants team, who have put on obviously a very tremendous and worthwhile conference. And a little secret, as a leader, if you want to get a good reception and good applause, make sure you put a lot of your own team members in the audience. And it's particularly a great pleasure to big up my Sagicor team members here today. My theme today, ladies and gentlemen, is leading, following, and executing with purpose, but from the Sagicor perspective. Now, I'm very proud to lead what I consider one of the most dynamic teams in the world, not just in the Jamaica and the Caribbean. We are a dynamic group of companies in Jamaica with over 2,250 of the brightest and best members, as I've said, in the world. I really have stopped talking about Jamaica and the Caribbean. And at the top of that is the leadership and how we promote, how we develop young people into leadership, middle, and eventually the top, because we pride ourselves on that. And I think you have heard it a couple times today, but good leadership is essential for success. And we at Sagicor realize that the sustainability of a successful company, group of companies in this modern, technologically driven world, fast-paced change world, is essential. Now, who am I? What is my view? As you would know, I'm neither drunk nor ugly, right? Unlike Sir Winston. I am the president and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica, and today you will hear from me what are the important tenets of leadership for me and how we describe those tenets through the values we have at Sagicor. So, what are our values? And they can be summed up in one word: script. So, service, communication, respect, integrity, teamwork, and leadership. So let me just take you through each of those. Service. Number one, our brand is built on the premise of delivering on a promise to our clients to provide excellent customer service and experience at all touch points. And in leadership, service is about serving your team, because I believe that service is both external and internal, and I try and preach this all the time. Serving your team by valuing their opinions, listening to their feedback, and providing them with opportunities for growth, and developing your team to become leaders to replace you and encourage a we culture and not a you culture. Communication. Effective communication is not about talking down to your team. It's about listening and two-way discussions. And it's not simply, as I said, the transmission of information. And as a leader, communication is crucial for building alignment and executing strategy. Yet it is often one of the most challenging leadership skills because it's so easy to say but not to do. A lot of times I have been speaking to various groups, various people, and I realize I'm not getting through to them, and it's because their lens that they're looking through, and their lens that they're listening through does not process what I'm saying. So I think in effective communication, you have to try and empathize with your recipient of the communication and put it in a way that they fully understand. Which is really what that slide is saying. It's not what you say, but how you say it. Respect. So I always come to any leadership role with that as sort of my base foundation. And the old adage is true, you have to show respect to earn respect. Because you're given a piece of paper that's signed by a board that says you are a CEO does not give you the respect of your team. Lead by example, not do as I say, bring stuff to your table. So you have, as middle managers, groups that report to you, you have to come to that table with something to offer. Something based on respect and something that the teams will respect you. And of course, summing that up, if you show your teams respect, you will get back loyalty, performance, and synergies in the organization. Integrity. This is something everybody in Jamaica should think through. You know, as leaders, as managers, we're faced with choices, expediency, friendship, other agendas. But it is always important to do the right thing. And leading with integrity and remaining true to your core morals and values is an innate quality that you cannot fake. How many of you have had people that you relate to that you just know they're fake? They just come into you and they're talking all the right words, and then they do stuff that is not in congruence with those pretty words. And it's the most immediate thing that your teams will recognize in you, whether you're real or you're fake, and whether you are doing stuff that is inimical to the values and to the success of the organization, to include the people that work for the organization. And like respect, integrity is not so much about what you say, but what you do. And you can't get away at the end of the day. Oh, finally. Thank you. At the heart of integrity is honesty. Go to performance, the P in respect. And at Sagicor, we are a performance-driven organization. And we not only work hard, we play hard. Performance must be a high priority for any good leader, as it will be the ultimate measure by which your success is judged. So you're building on foundations, respect, communication, integrity. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, performance is what will speak to your advancement, your development, and the success of your teams and the success of your organizations. So talking the talk, but walk the walk. And we at Sagicor believe that recognition and rewards, incentives are extremely important in terms of driving performance. So I know I get to attend a lot of very important functions at Sagicor, daytime, nighttime, all related to rewarding our teams, recognizing the star performers, recognizing those that beat targets, those that have done something special. It's literally every week, and it is a whole part of our culture. At our corporate awards, which I think this room and that one, it was a huge room here. That one, okay. We had what, 600 people, Jackie. And by the way, Jackie is a director of our group board, so please give, and our life board, so please give her a round of applause as a Sagicor member. A very important director particularly from the HR and learning and development perspective. So our corporate awards, a fantastic event. You know, we had Beanie Man, Yellow Man, Queen Ifrica, we had, and I mean, you know, we went, Barris was there. But that wasn't what it was about. It wasn't about just the fun of it, but it is about the fun of it. But it was about recognizing our exceptional performers. And for the first time this year, we invited rank and file from top to bottom, as long as you scored exceptionally on your annual performance evaluation. So there were about 150 people in the room who would normally not be invited because they were not winners of any particular category, or they were not senior people. And it was really special to us. Teamwork. You know, no man is an island. We've all heard that. And partnership, teamwork, collaboration, all play a major role in achieving success. And without a team, you are a captain without a boat, and you're not going to get anywhere as a leader. Teams do better than individuals because you're combining. It's like having 4 servers, 4 different computers in one network. You can combine synergies and talents of a diverse group. And collaborations can improve motivation and creativity that may not be present if it's just a one-man band kind of thing. Once people belong to a group, the range of views and diversity can energize the process and aid in decision making. So that script. So the nice words, right? So how do we act? How do we walk the walk? We have a number of developmental programs to, as I said, drive the high performance up the organization. So let's talk about our Sagicor Middle Managers Development Program. An important role that we know that middle managers play in any organization, but particularly at Sagicor. The middle managers we recognize are charged with seeing that the organization's vision and strategy are executed every day. And this has led us to a heightened need for the development of leadership skills of middle managers. And our Middle Managers Development Program is designed to provide participants with the learning and development required to meet the strategic goals of the organization. So we recently devised a new program, and we had the final awards or recognition ceremony the other day, just the last week, I think. Sagicor Lead. And Sagicor Lead recognizes that the world, as I said initially, is experiencing dynamic change in technologies, economies, the needs of our clients and the ever-increasing and greater competition and disruption. And we believe that our younger, more progressive managers and members of that team are in a unique position to use innovation and technology to disrupt, to recalibrate, and to upset the status quo. And we intend to be the leaders in innovation, disruption, and disrupting the status quo in the financial services industry. So in April, we launched a new leadership development program to enhance the personal and professional growth of our team. We had we invited applications from all the members of the team. We had close to 80 applications, and these were people who felt themselves empowered to put themselves forward. You know, several full days of interviews by a diverse, not senior management, but just below, panel of interviewers drawn from various parts of the group. And the result, you will see here today. We have our candidates, the final candidates. I think there are 15 of you here, of Sagicor Lead, and congratulations, folks. So we're hoping and we expect that Sagicor Lead will propel our team members to be the force that transforms processes and create a stronger brand Sagicor. They are the me's of the future, in our view. So that's our philosophy, our values, how we translate that into training, learning, and development at Sagicor. So let me speak to, some little views as to what your roles are as middle managers. I'm running out of time. Oh. So as I said, today's challenges require diversity of thought. And a single person cannot solve all problems. And we need to reinvent the role of middle management and of management and empower team members to think for themselves. Middle managers need to be productivity drivers and bridge the gap between us big shots who set high-level targets and the people who actually get those targets delivered. You need to maintain very strong professional relationships with your employees and push them to do better. And you need employee engagement and in order to generate greater earnings. And you have to be decision makers. You have to be empowered to tackle projects and implement strategies, know your team's strengths and weaknesses, and know which ones can do the role best. In the long run, talented mid-level managers help your organization to increase employee engagement, retention, and productivity. So effective middle managers have a success mindset, not for personal achievement, but one that gauges success based on the accomplishments of your teams. You need to envision and articulate the future, inspire and motivate your teams, and plan and implement smart goals, goals that are measurable and timely. You need to be innovative. I use that word a lot nowadays because I firmly believe that without innovation, you might be at the top of the pile today. You could be like BlackBerry tomorrow. We need to take action as managers and be responsible for the success of initiatives that you plan. You cannot disconnect what you are planning to do and what you actually get done. And you must move to remove the obstacles. The speaker before me, who is doing such a great job at PICO, spoke about the fact that when you're going to your boss, don't carry the problem in there, carry solutions with it. So there's 4 types of managers. I mean, these kinds of analogies are rather simplistic, but really powerful in my view. There's a hands-on but eyes-off manager. And that's how you get your fingers cut off. And those are inefficient managers. There are the hands-on and eyes-on managers who are micromanagers. So they're there doing it and looking at it at the same time. And where is the role for the team in that? There is the hands-off and eyes-off manager, the laissez-faire. And those are called roll-the-dice management because they're really just going along for the ride, collecting a paycheck, and maybe their uncle is the CEO or something like that. And then finally, the hands-off, meaning not micromanaging, but eyes-on, leading, measuring, innovating, keeping track, and rating and grading your team's performance, making sure they're on the path, but not setting the speed limit and not putting roadblocks on that path. And those are the innovative and effective managers. So the ideal manager, in my view, is the eyes-on, hands-off manager. Thank you very much.
Felicia, please welcome Mrs. Lynch.
Morning, everybody. I don't have a presentation because I want to have a conversation with you all. I think we all need a bit of a wake up. I'm actually going to ask you some questions. And we're looking at leading, following, and execution. And one of the things that struck me was the fact that very often, or at least traditionally, middle managers weren't thought of as leaders, particularly if we think about transformational leaders. Is that so? Very often they were thought of as people who, they did some planning, they did the execution, and then the monitoring and the controlling, but not leading in terms of the things that Mr. Winter pointed out. So, for example, being visionary, being the person to inspire the teams, talking about trust. But I believe in a thing called people, that people are purposed for leadership. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that you have an innate sense of wanting to achieve a goal or a vision that is bigger than yourself to the benefit of others. And ultimately, that's what a leader is. And so that means you can be a middle manager, you can be a supervisor. It's not about your title and it's not about the level at which you operate, okay? And what that means is that your focus has to be squarely on the people. It has to be on serving others and developing others. That's your main job as a middle manager. And I think sometimes we can get lost in all of the stuff that we have to do, particularly as a middle manager at an operational level. We are hands-on, we have to be hands-on, but at the same time, we need to also focus on developing our people because we get stuff done through people, which is what comes onto the execution part, yeah? For many people, however, they didn't come into middle management or a leadership role because of the fact that they wanted to serve. They wanted a bigger paycheck, they were just put there by somebody else. And so my question to you today is to ask yourselves, why did you choose to become a middle manager? And it's really important that you ask yourself that question because we've heard quite a lot today about the fact that if you're in a leadership position, it's a lonely place. And if you don't have an internal drive that goes beyond money and things like that, when you get to that lonely place, when you have to make those decisions and be the one who stands out on your own, you're going to struggle. So you really need to check yourself and ask yourself, why did I choose to leave? In terms of following, I think one of the big things is that you can't lead if you can't follow. Yeah? It's really critical that we have the ability to surrender and submit to authority, and that's not easy. And a lot of the time, we talk about people who leave organizations. They don't leave organizations; they leave managers, and they leave managers because they struggled with the relationship. Yeah, and so one of the key things is that we have to be two things: people of trust. And when we talk about trust, I don't know how many of you have read Stephen Covey's The Speed of Trust. Okay. It's a book I would recommend every one of you read. Okay? What he talks about when he defines trust is credibility. As a middle manager in particular, you need to raise your credibility. And credibility is based on two things, and I'll talk about this in my presentation this afternoon, which is capability and character. And ultimately, if you are going to be somebody that people will follow, you have to have that credibility. You have to be somebody who's of good moral character and somebody who also has the capability. But you also, therefore, by extension, have to be somebody who will follow other people. So if your team is seeing you not following the lead of your senior, your executive, what do you think is going to happen when you want them to follow you? Yeah? And the truth of the matter is, it takes humility to do that, which is a good old-fashioned word that we don't like to hear, right? But the reality is, humility is strength controlled. Because you have to be a strong person to be able to humble yourself, to be able to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, that are not your will, that you know what, I think I actually could do that better. You may be able to do that better than your manager. And that's why it takes humility to be able to put that aside, because your main purpose and focus is on the vision, is on the bigger goal, and is not on yourself. And so it takes a very strong person with a healthy, what I would call a healthy and accurate self-image that recognizes I have these great skills, I am good at this, but at the same time, I value and accept the skills and what everybody else is good at, so that we can come together to work together and I can submit my will to somebody else's to get the thing done. Yeah? So again, my question to you would be, do you struggle to follow? Because if you struggle to follow, then you're likely to have a problem with your team following you. And then lastly, we talk about execution. And in terms of execution, we can plan and we need to plan, but actually I think we do, we do a lot of planning. Our problem is actually getting the thing done. You know, one of the things that we hear a lot about in the Caribbean is this notion of implementation deficit. Anybody heard that? Right? So one of the big things that we do is we focus on measuring and controlling, and we think that's performance management, by the way, which it's not. And we do that because we have this challenge with execution. But the real thing is that we have to ask ourselves, why is it that we don't seem to be able to get these things off the ground? Why is it that we don't seem to be able to, we have the intellect. I have worked all over the globe, and I can tell you this, you will not find more educated people than people in the Caribbean. I've run international teams, and we are educated, right? And don't let anybody tell you any different. However, our challenge is, how do we take that education and what we know and apply it practically on the ground to get stuff done? Yeah? And as a middle manager, you are specifically at the coalface of execution. Because when all the planning and everything is said and done, you are the ones with your teams who have to walk that out. So if you can't execute, then you aren't worth your salt. And that's really critical for you to start thinking through, how do I get these things done? And the reality is, to be able to get these things done, we have to be able to make things happen. Not just say we're going to do something, but we have to commit to doing it. And even if that means we do it wrong, sometimes you have to put something in place, try it out. We talked about innovation. Innovation doesn't take place in a vacuum. You are going to have to try something, see if it works, and it may not, but you will learn from that. But if we are so frightened to actually take some responsibility and get something done, then we will never deliver and we will never execute. So my question to you today is, are you struggling with the execution? And if so, why? Is it because you don't feel you have the skills? Is it because you feel that, okay, if I do it wrong, I'm going to be blamed? If those are the issues, then yes, your company has an issue or challenge with culture. So go challenge the culture. Go speak to your senior and say, you know what, I have this great idea. I'd like to do it, but I'm worried that if I do it and it fails, it's going to come back in my face. And let them give you the scope and the leeway to be able to try it out. So those are my questions I leave with you today. Why did you choose to lead? Are you struggling with following? And am I struggling to execute? And I hope that you will ask yourselves those questions, but also be the author of your destiny in terms of trying to resolve them also. Thank you very much.